You're muted, James.
I was muted. I've made it through all of our launches and I never did that. I did it tonight. Welcome to the Coach House double poetry party launch. That's a thing. For Because the Sun by Sarah Burgoyne and Exhibitionist by Molly Cross-Blanchard. Am I being messaged about being, oh, there we go. Hello. Thought more people were messaging me telling me I was muted, but I'm good now. Hey, welcome everybody. This is a real party. We have two absolutely fantastic collections of poetry tonight. This is Because the Sun's Pub Day too. It's pretty great. It's a pretty exciting thing. I love these two collections. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not supposed to pick favorites out of our books. I won't pick a favorite of one of these, but they are absolutely incredible. Am I still muted here? What's happening? No, I'm not. I'm good. Okay, yeah, we're not. I'm just worried I'm still muted now, but I'm good. So without further ado, let's get into this. Before we get going tonight, I'm going to read a land acknowledgement. Coach House is based in Toronto, where we are broadcasting from tonight. So I'm going to read the Toronto land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, including the Métis people and Inuit. We are also acknowledged that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with Mississaugas of the Credit. Oh, you're a chatty group tonight. I'm having a hard time keeping up on everything. Okay, great. That's great. I want a chatty group. Okay, first up, Sarah Burgoyne's first collection, Saint Twin, which was published by Mansfield Press in 2016, was a finalist for the A.M. Klein Prize in Poetry. And it was awarded the prize for the L'Académie de la Littérature and shortlisted for the Relit Award. Other works have appeared in journals across Canada and the US and have been featured in scores of and have been featured in scores by American composer J.P. Merz and have appeared within or alongside visual art of Susanna Barlow, Jamie McCarley, and Joni Tremblay. She currently lives and writes in Montreal. Everyone, we can't hear you, but put your hands together for Sarah Burgoyne. And next up, we have Molly Cross-Blanchard. Molly is a Métis writer and editor born on Treaty 13 territory, Fort Frances, Ontario, raised on Treaty 6 territory, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and living on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tzlane Booth peoples in Vancouver. She holds an English BA from the University of Winnipeg and a creative writing MFA from the University of British Columbia and is the publisher of Room magazine. Molly Cross-Blanchard. Let's hear it. Hello, Sarah and Molly. Welcome to your launch. How are you?
Hi, James.
You're not muted. That's good. So,
we're great. We're excited.
Dolphins.
It's all set.
I hope the dolphins have set everyone into the appropriate mood, calm, but playful.
Yeah.
We'll just jump into it. Sarah and Molly are going to read for a bit. Then we're going to have a brief intermission. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but there will be more dolphins. And then we're going to have some fun after the intermission, and there'll be a chance to ask some questions too. So if anyone has a question, you can start dropping them in the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of your screen whenever you want. So I'm going to disappear, let Sarah and Molly read for a bit. Intermission, we'll pop back. Okay.
Oh, James, come back. I think you were going to flip a coin.
Damn it.
We can't make decisions for ourselves.
That's right. I forgot. This is part of the unusual nature, playful nature of this launch, is we're going to flip a coin. Sarah, it was your pub day, so I figured you should call heads or tails.
Okay, I called tails.
Tails, okay, here we go. I got a toonie, which is the only coin I could find in my house. Here we go. We have heads.
I knew that was gonna happen. Heads.
Okay, so I'm out of here for real this time. I won't come back until I'm wanted. Okay.
James. All right. Wow.
Hi, everyone. There are 122 people here. This is amazing. Thank you so much for giving us your Tuesday night. I really appreciate it. My name is Molly Cross-Blanchard. I'm a white and Métis writer, poet, editor, publisher. As James already said, I was born on Treaty 3 in Fort Frances. I was raised on Treaty 6 in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. And now I'm living in what is colonially known as Vancouver, which is located on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. I wrote this book on these lands. It was a hard book to write, and I'm very grateful to this place for giving me a soft place to land when I was working through some of that stuff. I'm not going to ramble too much. I want to try and squeeze in as much poetry as possible. So I'm going to jump in with the poem that I always start with, which is the title poem of the book. It's called Exhibitionist. Exhibitionist. The most orgasms I ever had in one go come over Christmas vacation in my childhood basement bedroom. Door cracked open, sheets peeled back, pussy in plain view of the cat clawing carpet. Is this how flashers feel in their trench coats and chest hair? I'd like to sit in the park with my thumb stuck up my nose and wait for someone to notice. I want to be more like the woman in Burger King who eats fries straight off the floor, the woman who cries in Walmart when her preteen son says, "Fuck you, Mom," for the first time in front of the greeter yanking carts. At the strip club, I eat onion rings, watch the dancer watching me from upside down in her halo of light. When will my roommate notice the way I air dry underwear on the corner of the hallway mirror, symbol of sex in his reflection? I want to feel like a display model lipstick, dug at nubs smeared across the mouths of strangers, a much-handled sample of the real thing. Granville Island. This was a request from my cousin who is sitting directly behind my computer screen. Granville Island. Look at the wide sky. Now look at me. Are you ashamed to be seen with woman in pigtails? My tits are trapped under spandex today because last night I pressed my bare ass against your back and you slept on and on. Then a ghost baby with all your hair hovered there between us, so I sang the saddest songs I knew till it fell off the edge of the bed and tumbled out the open window into traffic. I feel impotent, you say over dinner while I cry discreetly into the scallops. I want to tell you I don't love you either, but you did it first, so that makes me spurned. Is this romance? Brine and embarrassment, your thumb back and forth on my wrist? Shit. I'm sorry I wore my hair like this. You have to keep looking up at a woman in pigtails who you don't love, and that's no fun. Should I go? Ask the sky to swallow me whole. We'll pretend this never happened. It's cool. I never wanted a body without your baby in it. I never wanted a baby without your body next to mine. You think you know your life after Hera Lindsay Bird and birth control. You think you know your life, and then you're sitting alone in the theater with popcorn grease on your chin, watching Melissa McCarthy bumbly stumble from flattering floral blouse into flattering floral blouse 50 times in 90 minutes. Alone is what you want to be, but not feel. You think you know your life, and then you're crying because on the way to your car, you see the stars for the first time since September, and they are nothing like you remember. All your naps begin or end with porn. You could fill a diva cup with pus from the zits on your cheeks and chest. You want to fill a diva cup with blood, but your pussy's like, hold up. You think you know your life, and then you piss away 5 hours a day, half watching House Hunters reruns on basic cable and chewing the polish off your nails so you can paint them again the same shade of crepe paper pink. Your life is wiping the kitchen counter and signing the chore sheet, and making toast and wiping the counter and signing the chore sheet and making toast. Your life is Grey's Anatomy, When George falls heroically in front of a bus and ends up in the ER with his surgeon friends, but they don't know it's him because his face is so fucked up and swollen that they treat him like anyone else and talk shit about him while he's lying on the table open and hurt with a tube down his throat. You think you know your life, but then you wean yourself off 21-day Marvelon, and it turns out you haven't known your life since your mom found a picture of your labia on your Nokia camera phone and sent you to the clinic for a script. You think you know your life, but it turns out the tiny white pills were tiny white liars, pressing buttons, pulling levers, saying, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. And I had to read one of the dolphin poems because we're going with a dolphin theme tonight. So there are 3 in the book, and this is Dear Dolphin 2. To me, you are made up, mythology, or Warner Bros. Understand, this is why I can't believe you swim 600 feet from where I sleep. Google says your dick can grab things like kelp, a mackerel, a dangled human ankle. I do what that shaman says and print an oversaturated 8x10 photo of you, scotch tape it to the wall above a Hawaiian sunrise candle from Ceylon. You look sinister under lit like this. It makes perfect sense. No hard feelings, Dolphin. You were great in that movie with young Elijah Wood. When we're young and insecure about our intelligence, after Monica McClure. Serena never talks to her mom on the phone while she's pooping. As soon as she buys toilet paper, Serena takes it out of the plastic and puts it in a drawer. Has she seen me flick a booger at the floor? Serena never sticks loose hair to the wall when she showers, and she knits while she's watching Netflix. I don't do anything while I'm watching Netflix. Serena has the coolest clothes. She wears these shoes you'd only see in a Billie Eilish video. Billie Eilish is 17. When I was 17, I was so worried about the hem of my giant tiger jeans. Now I read my horoscope and itemize each sadness in a notebook. Billie Eilish reads her horoscope and has her people build a theme park. Serena reads her horoscope and just can't be bothered. One time, I ran out of toilet paper and used a torn-off piece of tampon box to wipe. When Billie Eilish runs out of toilet paper, her people go to Walgreens, and then she makes toilet paper cranes and crushes them with her butt cheeks for a music video, and it is art. Serena never runs out of toilet paper. When Serena leaves a party to poop, and upon her return, a friend hands back her vodka soda asking, "How was your poop?" she never replies, disappointing. I posted that poem on Instagram and I tagged Billie Eilish, and I don't think she liked it. I want to call you now and every time. I want to call you now and every time I drive across the prairie. I'm asleep at the wheel of this life, drinking soup and swerving into oncoming traffic. When you rubbed your face from side to side across my naked stomach like a dog with an itch, it was more sex than all the rest put together. I'm spilling on myself. When I scoop out a wonton with one hooked finger, will I remember what it is to be animal? I remember when you pawed my bare back each time I stretched for a drink of water in the night. I pretended not to like it, drank so much water, spilled on your sheets. Country music is shit, but I'm listening to your playlist called Kick It in the Sticks, and I can breathe. The road is so smooth. I keep on spilling. This is a poem I fashioned. This is a poem I fashioned from a journal entry. Sorry. I was hysterical one night. The moon was being weird. I sent you nudes that made my ass look rounder than it is and wrote, "I think we should have sex when I'm in town." I put a deposit down on a hand tattoo that Kyle says will make me look like I've been to prison. I ate half a vegan bean wrap and a piece of cheese toast and 2 cups of sweet beige coffee, and that's it. I took a pissing selfie and posted it in the ladies' fitness accountability chat, #multitasking. No one liked it. Is this what feeling my whole life is like? Is what I wrote in the journal. I'd been watching Fleabag, that was the problem. Phoebe Waller-Bridge and the moon. I reminded myself that my mother and my best friend are alive. I reminded myself I have a dog, not a guinea pig. She licked my hand over and over, and I had to lie still for a while. I read some Sally Rooney, and just like that, the banana peel drying on the desk became endearing. I was endeared to myself, but now I can't remember how. Recalling drunkenness, sober. I need you to love me more than I need to remember liking myself, and I'm only a little embarrassed to admit it. I hope you like my body when we fuck. I hope you say my asshole tastes like caramel again. Never forgot that. And I hope my asshole actually tastes like caramel and you weren't just saying it to make me feel better about having a regular tasting asshole. If you haven't missed my breasts, you will after you see them in these new sheer cups. You'll miss them while they're still in your hands. All of it happened so fast. I just wanted to feel loved again by a man who loves me, to be held so normal while it's dark outside. And I wanted to smell you. This is the present tense. I want to lick your warm neck and smell that magic thing my spit does on your skin. Love really looks like this, huh? This is the transition. I'm climbing a hill or else descending quickly into a tumble. If I'm a baby's light-up toy, you're the blinking default setting. I have to be loving someone else to not be loving you. What we thought was a pressed red self-destruct button is actually hundreds of windows to be nailed shut by hand. Do you understand? This coming together is part of the leaving. Sorry. Just fuck me like you did at Disney World. I swear, I'll be right there with you. And this is the last poem that I'm going to read tonight, but I do want to say a couple of thank yous. First, Coach House, thank you so much for taking a chance with this book, for all of the support. Thank you to Susan Holbrook, my editor, for your insights and for really helping me sharpen up this manuscript. Thank you to my writing community. Thank you to the teachers at UBC and at U of W for all of your support. Thank you to my non-writing community for the support, even though you don't know what I'm talking about half the time. It means a lot to me. Special thanks to Selena Bowen, Sarah DeWall, and Hannah Green for teaching me so much about poetry. And thank you to my family. I know it's not always easy to support the kind of work that I do, but I love you so much. And yeah, here's the last poem. It's called But If. But if I abandoned my life to live on a boat, but if the boat could drive itself, but if I picked you up at a port in Regina, but if we sailed in circles on the prairie like kind pirates, but if we went below deck and made a baby, but if you braided and unbraided my hair every day, but if the apocalypse came when we were under a tarp with our dicks out, but if the people we loved most were bobbing by and we scooped them up in a big net, but if they each possessed a necessary skill for survival, but if we learned to like the taste of raw pike, but if I was so happy I never questioned it, but if money was the thing you stuffed the pillows with, but if you held me each night while the big flood rocked us to sleep, but if our baby was between us with their eyes open and their hands on our faces, but if our baby took care of us in our old age, but if our baby got old, but if we died and came back as beavers, but if we built a home for our old baby and they built a fire in it while we watched from the bank across the strait holding paws, but if, while we were holding paws, you tickled my palm with one dull claw and said, this was the plan all along. Thank you.
Saddest thing about Zoom is you can't hear applause, so you can hear my applause. Thanks, Molly. It's like amazing. I love especially the line, is this what feeling my whole life is like? I feel like that's been ringing through my head ever since I read your book. So yeah, I'll start by saying thank you to Coach House for publishing this book and for letting me let it match a little bit my last book that Stuart Ross designed, which I love that they kind of match. And the artwork, my dear friend Joanne Tremblay allowed me to use her painting. But with Coach House, like, thank you, huge thank yous to Alana and James and Crystal for all the hard work and perfectionism that went into this process. It's been really fun. So I am going to read, I'm going to read an excerpt of the Thelma and Louise section of this book. This book is very much about the sun, and the sun as this sort of symbol that is, symbolic of several things, but I guess I'm thinking about how it interacts with violence in our world, and also in texts like Camus' L'Étranger, but also Thelma and Louise, which is a movie that I love. And I didn't watch it until 5 years ago, and was just completely blown away by it. We all know the classic way it ends. I'm not going to give it away in case you don't know it. But yeah, the thing about reading this piece is there's these little holes. So as I read, I won't read what's in here, obviously, and then I will read what's in the sort of black sun or bullet hole on the other side. So, Thelma or Louise lets out a little scream. Mist and glare shroud the night street. Thelma and Louise enter the fluorescent lot. Glow and din inside the silver bullet. Fuchsia gloom hovers over the billiards. The bar's rain is laughter and knock, a haze of faces, but Louise moves through the light. She hasn't seen a place like this since Texas. Thelma thinks it's fun. Louise is quiet. A woman sings. They move through the light and end up at a table. The server has a pink belt and a plunge of fringe. She asks if y'all want a drink. Louise says, no thanks. Thelma wants a wild turkey straight up and a Coke back. Thelma says Louise is as bad as Daryl. Thelma says, look out, because her hair is coming down. Louise changes her mind, orders a margarita and a shot of Cuervo on the side. Thelma takes her shot. Hey, what are a couple of Cupid dolls like you doing in a place like this? A man asks. Thelma says they left town for the weekend. Louise says, minding our own business, why you try? Thelma says, because they wanted to try too. The server returns with drinks, says, Harlan, these poor girls. Harlan says, hell no, he was. Server says, it's a good thing they're not all as. Louise nods and takes a drag. Thelma has an uncle named Harlan. Harlan says if he's a funny uncle, they have something in common. Harlan touches Thelma's knee when he laughs. Louise blows her smoke in Harlan's face. Says she doesn't mean to be rude, but she has something she needs to talk to her friend about in private. Harlan looks Louise straight in the eye. He slow says he understands. Says he didn't mean to bother them and looks at Thelma, but it's hard not to notice such pretty ladies as themselves. Thelma sucks her drink through a straw and smiles. Harlan says she'd better dance with him before she leaves or he will never forgive her. He winks. Half of his face enters shadow when he stands. A single eyebrow looms. Thelma says, sure, that'd be fun. Harlan leaves. Louise holds her cigarette straight. Some fun, you bothering, being friendly as, and takes a swig of her margarita. Says, can't you tell when somebody is hitting on you? Thelma thinks it's all Louise's years of waiting on tables that's made her jaded, that's all. The band starts playing. Thelma takes a shot. Thelma jumps and claps, yells, woo! A man sings in a thick blue haze. A painting of a horse is behind him. Thelma waves at Harlan. Thelma wonders if Daryl's home yet. Louise wonders if Jimmy ever got back. Thelma thinks Louise should tell him to go get lost once and for all. Louise thinks Thelma should ditch that no-good husband of hers. Harlan orders Thelma and Louise another round. Harlan smiles at Thelma across the room. Thelma knows when Jimmy comes in off the road and Louise won't be there, he'll freak out and call her 100,000 times. Sunday night, she'll call him back, and by Jimmy will be kissing the ground she walks on. They decide to have some fun and make whiskey hoots. Harlan waves, Thelma. Thelma disappears with Harlan. a blue shroud alongside the band. The singer's hair hangs past his shoulders, switch. Harlan asks for Thelma's name. The fluorescent beam cuts through Harlan's head. Follow me, Thelma. Thelma says she doesn't know what she's doing. Harlan's arm is around Thelma's neck. He holds a beer by the throat as he spins her. The light cuts through his head. Thelma laughs. Behind her is a pastel dream light. Switch. Louise smokes at table beside 2 full margaritas. A man approaches to ask if she wants to dance a little. Sure, says Louise. Louise's dance partner wears a flowered black shirt. She looks for Thelma as she dances. Louise pretends to relax. Louise dances. Switch. Harlan holds Thelma very close. He holds his beer tight to Thelma's neck. Harlan dips Thelma. Harlan tells Thelma she's got some great moves. A voice yells, says, other shot. Let's dance, dancers. All right, here we go, here we go, here we go. So that's just a chunk right out of the middle of the Thelma and Louise section of the book. Yeah, I also want to thank, I know she's not here tonight because of the time change in France, but I want to thank Lisa Robertson for editing this book, and really, she used the term bonsai, like she bonsai'd the book to make it such a kind of sleek object. And the way, yeah, we decided to organize it in sections that follow this quote at the beginning was really, I think, a great idea. So this is the 3 women section. The next poem I'm going to read is called What Was, or Enfance, and it's after Arthur Rimbaud, in the sense that he has a poem called Enfance in Illuminations, and I'm mimicking how he organized each section of that poem. All right. What was? This sun, murder grotto, dune among naked bodies, sky 0 in my glass, think through it. A babbling sound through my days. It flows around me, through the sun, then closer to me. Midnight nails its hour to the wall at the edge of the room, the dream plant in a pot of gold, beside cups of ink, the plant's contraptions, the silence of the plant, and its reaching and aging. The born moon, the figuring, the forgotten shirt. And soon I shall have this sound in me, and that sound. Here is the closed room beside the chrysanthemums, the dead little room and its mat of astroturf. The whole sky is luminous in the room, and the great obstacle is what has already taken place. Genius is this power of dying, her tragic love of life. You follow hello to the sound of a friend. The castle is now open, you may go inside. The women who have given themselves are hanged in unbelievable cruelty, surrounded by smells and rotting meat. Well, all is changed. The desert has come to you. Besides, there's nothing to see. The springs rise and dry. The sunny field is raised without apologies. The weathercock, crosswinds, and wingspans form an isthmus to the sun, the field's headdress, the gold steeple of the desert stretches its arms to the curves of your street and needles flowers through your window. The talking stones were pissed and murmuring. The astroturf was growing. Zeros were asking no questions as stages on the way to unrewarded perfection. In the room, there is a creak. Its sound stops you and makes you quiet. There is a repetition. There is the sound of a fountain that is just a sound. There is a fitted sheet and a gold frame. There is a patterned glass, and there is water in the glass. There is a blue ink pot and an amber ink pot. There is a disappearance, the sun. There is a repetition. I am the player on the pond, figuring a move as this year lasts longer than the last. I am the right structure for this beam of sun, its drunken laundry setting. I am the space the cracking sound took. I am opening the moment. Someday, I'll be the length of the shadow of the tree's sad hand. It's harder to cross here, but when you do, you walk to a narrowing point. It's beautiful if you look at it across the music. I pay with time because it's precious to me, and the pattern round the glass is red and permanent. I turn the plant every hour so it grows right. I know the spaces sound between the words. I close off the room because it is better to say nothing and pay attention to everything else. 3 cats and 2 dogs, their inner melodies. At dusk, the angles stack up against the wall. Each is a lineup of art. What it would look like to orchestrate a late dying, already half skeletal, and the work you got done. All right, I just have one more. And I'm reading this one because this is my secret favorite. And I find this always happens, and maybe Molly, you find this as well. It's like the poems that people are drawn to in the manuscript aren't the ones that I'm drawn to as much, and the ones that I'm drawn to, people aren't as drawn to. So I'm reading my secret favorite, the one I think is like the heart of the book in some way, but maybe that's just me. It's called What You Have. What you have. In the 4 eyes that look at me, 2 accept water. To the pavement, I let go what I put up. What happens when I just agree, at times in public spaces. Now you see me in my particular life. I know the particular reasons that left me. I took the apologists, the sunny field, its isthmus and headdress, the weathercock, crosswinds, and wingspans without apologies. I took the way the neon snake flickers awake at night across the street, the way the words coil at night, moment of doubt, hello. Hello, biological and unfamous, foam on your lip just there, get it? Whatever you say, it is an unpleasant emotion and likely. And have you made your confederation yet? And was it the sand that scalded? What rules the world is a current medium of exchange, the intervening substance, it lives and is cultured. I also took this. The point at or around the center of a period of time, being at an equal distance from the extremities of 2 other things, one's family and relations. It's not a problem that I am sometimes the dolphin on that necklace you gave me, the thin silver chain and its hanging. And the main thing is we begin, she said, with clothing before we clean beneath the sink. Maybe I thought it out. Maybe then this is just a version. The number 6 woke me up from a feeling at the likelihood of something unwelcome happening. What you tell love is strange, and Tuesday I was nearly lost. Hey, it's a form of athletics, a person's standard of play, or wild mammals or birds hunted for food. Who will I write to as an alien and snow out on the street if I am not ready in time but meant it? I walk the busy street to the busy line and the sign I pass and the tiger, tiger scrawled in the sill of the tram. Tiger, tiger, we both knew the song, so the day stuck. The sign is primary yellow, its letters are outlines, modern like the mural we made of Sundays and cigarettes beside the recipe all along. On the 6th, I saw several great haircuts. I bought a silver shirt, a pink shirt, and a polka dot. I took a bath and did not wash my hair. I listened to Italian and saw someone read in Italian. I heard German and Spanish. I humored. I made pleasant. I felt the pain of the past week and I doubted. I bought a book signed to Harold. I evaded a question. I sprung. I saw a silver watch face. I showed off a cover. I said I had a nice time. I answered a question. I thought about aliens. I read about sketches of demons or aliens. I thought about the Western imagination, which is severe. I thought about how the Western imagination considers aliens as demons. I unpacked stone from a plastic bag. I filled my mouth with colored sugar. I thought about a child. I was terse. I was overwhelmed by words and poor eyesight. I thought about asking when distracted by the body. I thought about the body and its distractions. I dropped the spoon and the lid, but not the content. I thought, it's a long one and will be long, being here now and alone here. To pay a man for my safety, today I had to turn around. A stencil of your daydream, I bought it for dreaming. There is so much to say of your goddess venue. My misunderstanding is the organization of the wound's ingredients. You can watch the full thaw. Can't offer any more to the misery of being a body, in the misery of being anything but a body. And the balance and forcing I am to remember what day it was. The flowers died in the morning. I woke to discomfort, having wanted my case separate, my encasing untouched, and the retaliation of all that. And what did you think you would find there? And what do you want? The powerful imaginary won't leave me, and new birds are coming, and I've reached the corrugation. You've been impressed by the gimmicks, and I hold them to my heart. You've been let down, and I hold it in my palm. You've been gone, and I hold it to my eye. You've been in the long line and made aware. I will take you back to my ship. The two owls with their backs turned are made of tiny seashells. The cat's shiny shoulders are the pink, which is the light against pink. I eat sullenly. I drink just a bit of coffee. The flowers sicken and there is shame here and disappointment that simplicity is only a myth of one's bearing toward repetition and stone. Come, I will take you back to my ship. That's it. Thank you all so much.
I had to come back to clap. I'm sorry. That was brilliant. Sarah and Molly, that was absolutely brilliant. Thank you both so much. Those were incredible readings. If you have a moment, guys, you should look at the chat. There's a lot of love for you there. We're going to take a quick 5-minute intermission. Some dolphins. When we come back, Molly and Sarah are going to do something special, and then we'll take your questions. So if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, okay? We'll see you in 5 minutes. Go get a drink or use the little poet's room. Hello. I hope that was very soothing for everyone. I found that incredibly soothing. And everyone had a chance to go to the bathroom or freshen their beverage. Good. Here we go. So we will take your questions. Thank you for everyone who's asked a question. There's some great ones there. But before we do, Molly and Sarah and Molly are going to try out a little something. I'll let them explain it, and then I'll come back for the questions. Okay.
Yeah. So Sarah and I wanted to do something for each other and for the launch. And what we thought would be really great is writing found poems from each other's work. it was Sarah's idea. I'm so glad that you suggested this because it helped me to engage so much more deeply with your book and has made this joint launch a lot more special. So
likewise. Should we flip a coin to see who I'm just kidding. I'll read first this time.
I would love that.
Okay. So I compiled this of my favorite moments in Molly's book. And yeah, I feel like it has, well, I'm really curious to know what you think, especially Molly, because I feel like there's something really, like there's a vivid beating heart in the book that I feel like is just, I don't know, it's almost like a floating forest or something with like this gorgeous subterranean world that I think the last poem especially talks to or speaks to. And anyway, I was having fun digging into it. So this poem is called The Blinking Default Setting. I give the world my body and the world gives me Archimboldo, my dog's muted martyrdom, a theater of kelp in blue lipstick, a frenulum under the dark monument of your gap tooth, one dull claw with an open-coated lilt. It's been raining and no birds come. I lie on the trampoline watching the philodendron sell hazard to the Pomeranian. A pinky's worth of shock waves fallen out of the wide sky's periwinkle vest. I want to be lost in the black porcelain sink of that forest, always gasping awake 50 meters above the Pacific. I wish, I wish. The furniture of all your favorite lines I never questioned. The 3002nd saltine of a poet off their route, pretending to measure the ceremony in the bathroom trash. It's made up mythology 6 feet from where I sleep. I don't know if this is how poems work, but I can stay and not think of the visual learners.
holy shit.
It was really fun to write.
Oh my God, that was beautiful. That is such a gift.
Well, it's all your words, so.
Please send it to me.
I definitely will. I definitely will.
Have it forever. That was beautiful. Thank you. Oh, I didn't know I could sound like that.
I'll write more poems from the book. I feel like it's just, yeah, the images are all there, so.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay, well, I have one. I did what I do best and I wrote a breakup poem from pieces of your book. And so much of what you read tonight is in this poem, which I really love and I think is going to be fun for our audience. It's called What You Tell Love. My neighbors can see me through their windows. Little housewife at the edge of the room, clothing removed. She is sobbing. A woman empty of performance doesn't give a shit. Lungs full of sink water, tipsy with suffering. When a woman's crying like that, people get very busy. What we want is happy unawareness, not my leather face spinning under the skin. What is this? Shit. There is so much to say. Imagine being with you. I miss your mother, sleeping in the room with you, your bare ass, Sundays and cigarettes. Everything's changed. My home is the wound's ingredients boxed beside the truck. One, that necklace you gave me made of tiny seashells. Two, the photo booth strip divided into squares of sidewalk, colored sugar on your lip just there. Three, a silver shirt, a pink shirt, and a polka dot. And four, a fortune cookie that says, the great obstacle is what has already taken place. Who needs things, horrific junk? My dear is far away. My death is far away. I am moving the body and its distractions. I turn the plant every hour so it grows right in the window's milk light. Wish you were here.
Wow, that is fabulous. I love it.
I loved writing it. I've still got a dish on my coffee table of all the little scraps because I printed them out and I cut them and then I puzzled them.
I love the photo booth in the sidewalk, panels of the sidewalk. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Molly.
Nothing beat looking at your face as well. The other one. That was pretty great. Okay, so we have some questions from the audience, but before we get to those, I believe you two have some questions for each other. Do you want to kick us off there?
Yeah, Sarah, do you want to do just one each for each other?
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
We have quite a few, so yeah. Save some for the audience.
Okay, my question for you, Molly, I'm choosing one of my questions, but this is the one I really want to ask, was if your book were a lover, what kind of lover would it be? A dolphin? A person with two girlfriends? A lover of sharing cheesecake? Or a nacho cheese fountain groom? What kind of lover would your book be?
Whoa. Okay, this is a really good question. My friend Olga read the book and she texted me and said, this book is simultaneously like, love me, but also fuck you. And I feel like that.
It was a cat.
A cat. That was actually but I feel like dolphins are kind of like that too. Like, they're so smart that if they turn on you, then you're just done.
Right.
But they also are very playful and loving with each other. So my easy answer to that is the dolphin. That's
okay.
It's blue.
That's
blue.
True. It does have dolphin coloring.
Cool, thank you. Okay, mine is a little meatier. Sorry. Okay, so there's a line in your book that I love and that really stuck out to me, and that line is, what interests people in a work are signs of a sorrowful existence. And I relate to that a lot, and I'm sure a lot of writers relate to that a lot, feeling like they have to be like trauma clowns. So what I want to know is, do you have any animosity for your readers or for the industry because of having to like present your sorrow, or do you resent having to present your sorrow?
That is a really interesting question. So the first thing about that line, what interests people in a work of art are signs of sorrow, is that's actually like part of the book was scouring Camus' notebooks for every instance that he references the sun. And that was one of his lines. So it was interesting to me, obviously, because I agree with that. Like there's something that we, are drawn to when we see sorrow or suffering. And I don't feel like, I don't feel like I'm forced to put suffering on display, or even that what I write is all suffering or sorrow or anything. Like I love to throw a joke in there if I can, or a dolphin, just sprinkle some dolphins in. But no, I don't have resentment. I just think it's interesting because that's like the one thing that everyone can relate to, is having some sort of sorrow or suffering, and whether that be quite minor or I mean in the realm of what you call trauma clown, right? Like there's the spectrum of it. And so I feel comforted when I read about other people's suffering or sorrow, because it feels like this is what it is to be human, but also it makes that part of being human a lot easier. So it's a bit paradoxical in that way. But yeah.
Thank you. That's a great answer.
Well, thanks for that great question. It's so profound compared to mine.
I loved your question. Your question was fun. This is a fun launch.
Yeah, you both had good questions. If it's okay with both of you, let's turn it over to the audience for a couple of questions. Jesse McEachern, author of the upcoming series of Stunning Attacks, got a question in early. It's for you, Sarah. In Three Women, the sun is, at least materially, an absence. That is, it creates an absence in the text. Later, we receive the shadow, the after effect of the sun. Are there other places in the book wherein the sun is an absence? And what does it mean to think through the sun in terms of absence?
Whoa, Jesse. Okay, what does it mean to think through the sun in terms of absence? Well, when I was reading those notebooks, Camus' notebooks, there was one quote that I think struck me more than the others, which was, the real climate of tragedy is not the night, it's the heat on the quays. And you know, growing up in Vancouver, moving to Montreal, like I'm all of a sudden aware of what heat feels like in the summer and like the misery of it. Like when you don't have air conditioning, you're just trying to sleep and it's impossible, right? There's this sort of like different type of misery that comes not from like, I feel like with the night we associate it with like danger, and, or at least as women, we often associate it with danger. But with the heat, it's this more kind of relentless, like violence. So thinking about the sun and the absence, like I think what I was sort of looking at was how the sun, because like we often associate it with joy and summer and being outside and comfort, but there's this other side to it that's a lot darker. And like with Thelma and Louise, you know, everything seems sort of temperate. Like the scene that I was reading at the bar happens in the night, but then after the attack, it's like pure desert. So it's, to me, like it's almost like the sun and the heat have revealed themselves to be this ambient, violent force that's always there, right? Even if we're in the night, we're just like turned a little bit from it. So I guess what I'm trying to say, and I'll cut it short because I know that, you know, there's lots of questions, is the sun is never actually absent. And that to me feels truer as a symbol of violence than the night or than the day. So yeah, I'll stop there.
No, that was great. Next up from Susan Holbrook, editor, friend of the press, great poet. This is for both you, Molly and Sarah. Molly, why don't you go first with this one? How has your relationship with language and writing changed this year?
That's a great question. This year, as in like pandemic wise?
Let's call it the last 12 months, yeah.
I feel more free to break rules now, and that might just be a general feeling of why not, like this like impending we're all gonna die feeling. And I don't know if that's, you know, a result of working on this book and kind of having to trust my instincts a little bit more, or whether that's like a symptom of the pandemic. But I think generally in my writing journey, it's been a journey of letting myself do whatever I want to do and stop thinking so much about trying to be the kind of poet that I have studied. And because that has always been, you know, an insecurity of mine, especially, you know, now launching a book that is, you know, my writing isn't terribly beautiful. That sounds like kind of self-degrading, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I think there's something that I'm doing that is not necessarily in the general kind of poetry world, and you know, it's something I'm very proud of, but also something that comes with a lot of insecurity. So I'm trying to make peace with language a little bit and making it my friend and doing what I want with it, and hoping that other people, sorry, dog.
That actually startled me.
I know, I'm so sorry to everyone. Like, we were doing so well. But yeah, just hoping that language can be my friend moving forward in anything that I choose to write.
Sarah?
For me, it's like, even revisiting the poems in Because the Sun, which I started 5 years ago, what kind of struck me is how interior they are. Like, they feel very much like an interior landscape that I excavated and put into a poem. And it's what surprised me upon rereading them was that I'm not really writing that way anymore. And I think I'm like, what maybe, and this is probably pandemic related, it's made me so hungry for collaboration and writing with people and like doing projects with others. And so I feel like one of the things that has changed this year for me has been focusing a lot more on pooling energies with other artists and writers, and doing things that involve either, being together on Zoom or on a Google Doc, or, if they're in Montreal, like in the city, like working on, like I did a collaboration with my friend Sarah Burgoyne, who's a dancer, and I translated her poem or her dance into a poem. And I've been working on some other like fiction and poetry projects with other writers. And so, yeah, that's been pretty new for me. It's just, it's not that I've always wanted to collaborate. It's just, for some reason, this year has made me really dig into that and explore that and just go for it in a way that I haven't before. And I think that's partly because I'm so much more intimate with technology these days. Like, I normally wouldn't be on my computer every single day, all day, but now that I am, I'm like trying to find avenues within that are enjoyable for me. And yeah, it's cool. I'm enjoying that a lot, actually.
Good. Thank you for that. Next up, it's actually a question from one of your blurbers, Sarah. The poet Michael Dickman would like to know, and this is for both of you, how do either of you know what you're writing is either a longer poem, a sequential poem, and not a shorter lyric? So how do you know you're working on something longer, not something shorter? When does that happen? Or does it?
Do you want to take it first, Sarah?
I'm happy to, but if you know what you want to say, go ahead. Oh yeah. I feel like I sort of shed the shorter poem. I was cursed by a writer, and I couldn't write short poems anymore, which was just, like when you go to writing school or you study at, creative writing programs, like it's so much about the poem on the page and that as the workshoppable item that gets passed around. Like, it's rare to bring like 20 pages of work and be like, here, this is my series, because there's just no time for that in classes and things like that. But I did have one writing teacher, Tim Lilburn, who said, who actually told us, like, we're only gonna workshop like 1 or 2 people a class, and you have to bring in like a whole bunch of work that's all in conversation. So either like a long piece or a series or something. And I feel like that just opened the whole world of poetry up for me. This was like 10 years ago now, but so it's hard if I'm working on a short piece, it's because I only have like 15 minutes to write it. But if I have like as much time as I want, it's always going to be long. So I would love to relearn how to write shorter pieces that work on the page and can be published as one chunk. But I feel like I'm mostly working in long forms because you get into the groove, But yeah, Molly, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got 2 long poems in the book, and then I've got 1 really short one, which I'm very proud of. I find it so hard to write tiny poems because you have to, come full circle in such a short little space. And that's the big thing I think that determines length for me, is like, how long does it take me to come to the conclusion of, and all of my poems come from, just stuff that has happened to me. So it kind of just depends on how long it takes me to work through that particular event. But yeah, I would really love to, I love writing longer poems. Like the 2 long poems in my book are 2 of my favorites. The one, Dear Mr. Decker, that's a letter to the teacher who taught me sex ed. It's one of those poems that I feel will never be finished. Like, I feel like everyone's got that one poem that they work on for like 10, 20 years, and that's gonna be my poem, because I find them really difficult to feel like they're getting the message that you want to send. So I'm going to keep picking at that one, and maybe it'll resurface again in 15 years. But yeah, all of my poems tend to be like a page and a half, and I'm perfectly happy with that. That's what happens. So
can I ask a follow-up? Is that something you have to push yourself for then, Molly, is to try to write longer?
No, I think the 2 that I have, they kind of happen like that. They were longer stories or bigger feelings. I think especially with the one that I read, This Is a Poem I Fashioned. There were a lot of feelings there that I just wanted to work through. I was also drunk when I wrote like the first draft of that poem, so maybe that was part of it. It was like a little bit of like drunk ramblings. And then the Dear Mr. Decker one, that actually started as an essay for a creative nonfiction class, and I had a word limit to reach. So I did push myself a little bit. I had to force myself for that one, but I'm really happy with the way that it turned out, and it definitely needed to be a poem and not an essay.
I really loved your long poems, Molly. I thought I remember being surprised by them because like I was like, oh, it keeps going and going, and I really, yeah, those ones really stuck with me.
Thanks. I definitely think that the next poetry book I write will be a series of long poems, or one big long poem, because they feel really, they're satisfying to write and they're satisfying to finish. And I crave that feeling all the time.
That really reminds me of something Fred Moten said once, that he doesn't know when he starts writing if it's going to be an essay or poem. Like, he has no idea. It's only halfway through he decides, okay, I know what this is now, but he just sort of starts off.
I feel like that's the key to Fred Moten's work too.
Yeah.
Knowing that the essays and the poems are in conversation, or like they're kind of like, if they're a Venn diagram, they're almost entirely eclipsing each other, Yeah,
exactly.
I love that.
This next question is for you, Molly. I think we might wrap it up after this, unless you guys have anything more to say, but this is from an anonymous attendee, actually. Don't worry. This book is about self-display. It's right there in the title, but at the same time, you joke a lot about the awkwardness of having your family read your work. This might be someone you're related to. Can you talk about the ways exhibitionism and shame interplay in your work?
The ways exhibitionism and shame play in my work.
I'll add one thing before you answer it. I think, because I love this question, which is, I've had to sell your book to a lot of people, and the way I do it is to call these anti-shame poems.
Cool.
They're like real poems.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole reason I started writing poetry was that I went through a breakup. Like, it's like very cliche. But I was taking creative writing classes, and I just like couldn't write anything that wasn't poetry. Like, I would try and write a story, and it just felt stupid to be like making stuff up when I had so many feelings. And part of that relationship, that partner put a lot of shame on me. I was, he was always quite embarrassed if I ever sort of went outside of like norms, or like gender norms. If I like I remember one time I made a Facebook status that was like talking about my armpit hair, and he was like, delete that. And it was a lot of that. And it was something that through writing poetry, I realized had been a big player in my relationship that was, causing me a lot of sadness and shame. So I think part of, sort of finding myself again after that breakup has been engaging with anti-shame and exhibitionism in whatever form. So it sort of just started with my poetry practice, and not even necessarily with this book in particular. Like this book is just all my feelings. Like it wasn't terribly, nothing happened terribly on purpose for this particular book. It was just whatever came out, and a lot of that had to do with fighting against this shame that I had felt for so many years and was trying to bounce back from.
Can I add something to that? Because I had a bunch of questions for you, Molly, and I chose the playful one, but I had one that was a bit meatier, that was actually thinking about the word exhibitionist. And this is super pretentious, but I love looking into the roots of words. And like with exhibit, it's not just like when we think exhibitionist, we think of like a flasher, or like, you know, we think about someone like revealing themselves. But in this, like the root of the word, like there's the meaning of to hold forth something and also to give. And so I feel like with like it kind of relates to what you're saying about there's this you know, the exhibition isn't just the body, it's the gift, right? There's this gift of anti-shame, or this gift of like, you know, encouragement and strength. And I think that it's in the title, you know, but we don't think about that right away. So
that's really beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I think women have a lot to give the world, and I don't know, it's been really nice to hear people's reactions to the book, and to you know, be like, oh, I pick my nose too. Like I don't know, it's nice to live in that exhibitionism together, and because that's when the shame just goes out the window. So
I was presenting some books to some American booksellers a few months ago, and I brought up the amount of diva cups in your book, and someone unmuted themselves to give an audible woo. It was an awkward moment for me, a proud moment though. So.
I love it.
Molly and Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for reading tonight. It was beautiful. I think we all needed this right now. It was a beautiful moment. It's The Exhibitionist by Molly Cross-Blanchard, and Because the Sun by Sarah Burgoyne. Get them from your favorite local independent bookstore, or your favorite non-local independent bookstore. If you can't do that, get it from us.
Local independent bookstore, yes.
Yeah, it's not local, but it's still your favorite. Get it from them.
I get it now.
But we're getting them directly from us. Tally is putting some links in the chat right now. I'd like to thank Tally Vroon, our tech person who ran the ship tonight. Thank you very much, Tally. Thank you to Sarah and Molly. Of course, thank you to everyone who attended. This is an incredible turnout for us, so thank you so much for that. Thank you to poetry.
Why not? And thank you, James, for your stellar hosting.
Honestly, thank you for letting me host. You know, this is about as social as my life gets at my time. So I really appreciate talking to other adults about poetry for a little bit, and especially when they're such brilliant books. It's a lot of fun. So thank you both. All right.
Cool. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.